What's up, YouTube? So, in this video, I'm going to be going over who I would like to make the Miami Dolphins 53-man roster. This isn't necessarily a prediction of what I think will happen. This is just what I would like to happen. We have to make our roster cuts by tomorrow. And I want to get this video out today because if you're not aware or if you don't live in Florida, there is a hurricane coming. And where I'm living, I'm in the direct path of said Category 3 by the time it's supposed to hit us. So I want to go ahead and get this out now while I have power and I'm able to do so. So let's go ahead and get into it. As you can see here, like just looking at the quarterback situation that I have, obviously we have 4 quarterbacks on the roster now, but I list 3 because that's how many I'm keeping. I think that makes sense. All the players in black are the players that I am keeping on the 53. The play on the list, when you see people like Jalen Ramsey, I have them in green because they're on injured reserve. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. I think the quarterback situation is pretty easy. Tua, Mike White, and Skylar Thompson, I think that makes sense. Tua's been pretty injury prone, so I think keeping 3 quarterbacks is important. I don't think Mike White or Skylar Thompson has had a particularly great preseason, but I do think that they will be better in the regular season with a fully fleshed out offensive playbook and everything like that. Playing with just the starters, I do think they will look better. It is what it is. But, I mean, like I said, Tua's injury prone. And we seen last year, Skylar got hurt, Teddy got hurt. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a 4th quarterback, at least around. So who knows. But moving on to running back, because this is where things start getting a little bit messier, because I think quarterback is pretty easy. I think most people are probably keeping Tua, Mike White, and Skylar Thompson. I think that's pretty safe to say. But I know a lot of people are only keeping 3 running backs in their mind. I think we should do 4. According to Mike McDaniel and what we've seen in preseason, it seems like we are going to try to run the ball a little bit more. And Raheem Mostert is also a pretty injury-prone player, so I think the extra depth would be good. So Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devon Achane, I think those 3 were pretty much locked down as safe. And then it was basically someone fighting for that 4th spot in my mind. I went into this wanting Chris Brooks to take it because he's a power back, and we would have him for 3 really cheap years. But Salvon Ahmed has had such a fantastic preseason that I just don't think we can cut him. I hope Chris Brooks makes it on the practice squad and no one takes him, but I just don't think we can let go of Salvon Ahmed with the preseason that he's had. I just don't. He's been fantastic. I know he did get injured. I was actually ready to make this video yesterday, but I wanted to wait and find out about Salvon Ahmed and Elijah Campbell's injuries, and I'll talk about Elijah Campbell later. Salvon Ahmed, luckily he was able to get out of concussion protocol. He does not have a concussion. It is a head injury, though, so it's like a day-to-day thing. It's not a long-term injury. He should be good to go by week 1, so we're good there. Fullback, don't have anything to talk about. Alec Ingold. He's great. He's not competing with anybody. Technically, John Lovett exists. Actually, no, we released him. Never mind. Yeah, just Alec Ingold. Cool. Moving on to wide receiver. I do have us keeping 6 wide receivers. I think the first few make a lot of sense, and I don't think anyone's going to argue. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, obviously. Braxton Berrios, Cedric Wilson, I think also makes a lot of sense. Eric Ezukanma has had a very good preseason in camp. But this is where it gets kind of dicey. That 6th spot. I know Robbie Chosen was a move that we made this offseason, but I don't think he's had that crazy of a camp or a preseason. I think River Craycraft has outplayed him a little bit, and I just think that the chemistry that Tua has with River Craycraft, I think just puts him a little bit over the edge. And I think he's a better blocker, too. If Robbie Chosen makes the team over River, I'm not going to cry about it, but this is what I would do. I do think that this is a pretty close race. But I would give the nod to River Craycraft. David Davis, luckily he has all feeling in all of his extremities. Luckily he seems to be okay. He is in concussion protocol. Hopefully he can make the practice squad. Robbie Chosen will probably be on someone else's team. I don't imagine he would survive on a practice squad for very long. Braylon Sanders maybe can be on our practice squad too. But moving on to tight end. Yeah, this one's easy for me too. Durham Smythe, Tyler Croft. I don't think anyone's surprised about that. But the third spot, I do have us only keeping 3 tight ends. I think Julian Hill has looked better than Eric Sauber. I mean, I've liked Julian Hill since we signed him. I think he's a pretty good blocker. He has a good mentality. He does have some athleticism to him. And I think he is a very good tight end that we will have for 3 years for dirt cheap. And I think he's better than Eric Sauber right now. So I don't see why we wouldn't keep him. I just think he just has looked better in camp and in preseason so far. And Elijah Higgins and Tanner Connor, I just don't think they fit our scheme at all. We're apparently trying to run the ball more. We really need our tight ends to be able to block. That's why we let go of Mike Gesicki, because he couldn't block. So I don't know why we have Elijah Higgins or Tanner Connor. I just don't think they make sense on this team. Moving on to offensive line. I have us keeping 9 offensive linemen. And this is where roster building gets kind of difficult, right? Because you can't... Sorry, I am still sick. You can't just have all the backups that you want. So the first few, I think makes sense. Teron Armstead, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt. Those 3 are our best 3. Austin Jackson, I'm not a big fan of him, but we don't have a replacement for him, so he's here. Isaiah Wynn, I think, has won that left guard spot, so that makes sense. Kendall Lamb has looked like a pretty decent backup left tackle. Robert Jones is a solid backup guard. And Liam Eichenberg and Dan Feeney, we just can't cut. Dan Feeney is an okay center, and he's better than Aluave. And Liam Eichenberg, we just can't cut. We just can't. we need depth, so we really can't afford to cut him. And I realized that this wouldn't give us a set backup right tackle, but we have to make room somewhere. And I don't think carrying 10 offensive linemen is the way to go. I just don't. And we have a lot of guards that have tackle experience. Actually, the only guard we have that doesn't is Robert Jones. Robert Hunt played right tackle his rookie year. Isaiah Wynn was a tackle for New England. Liam Eichenberg was a left tackle his rookie year. You know, they all have experience. Even Connor Williams was actually a tackle in college. So that's kind of my thinking there. Moving on to defense with the defensive line. I do have defensive line and edge rusher as separate things. That's why you don't see Emmanuel Ogbah here, but he is in the edge rusher room. So I think the first 3 also make a lot of sense. Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, Raekwon Davis. Those are our starting defensive linemen. I think that makes sense. Brandon Peely, as an undrafted rookie, I think has looked absolutely fantastic in camp and especially in preseason. He actually got some reps out there with the starters in this last preseason game, and I think he looked pretty good. So I think that makes sense. And then I think Deshaun Hand ends up being our backup as our backup 3-4 defensive end / 3-tech kind of guy. I wouldn't be surprised if Jamal Woods takes that spot. I know we just signed him to a cheap 2-year deal, and he is an undrafted rookie. I wouldn't be upset about that. I think this is also a pretty close race. Jalen Twyman also had some flashing spots throughout preseason as well. I think Brunson and Charlton are definitely out, though. I don't think they're making it. Moving on to edge. I'll talk about edge and linebacker together because they kind of relate. I have 6 edge rushers and 3 pure linebackers. Like as you can see, I have Duke Riley and Alexander Johnson off the team. So my edge rushers are Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Malik Reed, and Emmanuel Ogbah. I think those four make a lot of sense. Andrew Van Ginkel, Garrett Nelson are my other guys. The good thing about Andrew Van Ginkel and Garrett Nelson is not only are they edge rushers, but they can also play linebacker. So I think that kind of helps our linebacker room and our edge rusher room. I think it kind of balances it out. So, yeah. Linebacker, Jerome Baker, of course. David Long, of course. Channing Tindall, of course. I think it's time to let Duke Riley go, and Alexander Johnson didn't really pop out enough to really impress me. And Zeke Vandenberg is on IR. So we won't really see him this year. He's an undrafted rookie. So those are kind of my thoughts there. Cameron Good, probably on practice squad like he was last year. Mitchell Agude has had a pretty good training camp, but I just think Garrett Nelson's been better, and that's just all there is there. Moving on to corner, Jalen Ramsey is going to be on IR for a good part of the year. Same with Elijah Campbell. Luckily, it seems like Elijah Campbell was able to avoid an ACL tear, which is nice, but he'll probably still miss a lot of time. Probably won't see him until late in the year. I'll talk about safety in a little bit, but with corner, I do have us keeping 6 corners at all times. So not counting Jalen Ramsey, because he is on IR, we have Xavier Howard, Kader Kohu, Cam Smith, Nick Needham, Eli Apple, and Justin Bethel. Noah Igbenogany, I think, is just outside that bubble. I think it is finally time for us to let him go. Justin Bethel is a guy I would like to be able to hang on to just because he is a special teams ace. And when he had to step in at corner for us last year, I thought he played pretty well. Eli Apple, I'm not a big fan of, but at least he is a veteran. He's played in a lot of games, so there's that. Cam Smith, obviously, we can't cut. And Nick Needham and Kader Kohu are fantastic nickel corners. And Nick Needham can even play safety for you in a pinch if you need him to. So, yeah, there's that. And going into safety, obviously Javon Holland, Deshaun Elliott, and Brandon Jones. I think those 3 are very obvious. I had Elijah Campbell as our 4th safety. I think that was pretty easy. I thought our safety room was set. I thought it was perfect. And then he got hurt. So until he's back from IR, I do have Verone McKinley in as our 4th safety until Elijah Campbell is healthy again. That's just my immediate thought. Because I don't think Miles Dorn or Keegan Smith are as good as him. They just don't. And special teams is obvious. There's no competition anymore. We had a bit of a punter battle in the beginning of camp, but that's long gone now. So Jason Sanders, Jake Bailey, and Blake Ferguson are our special teams guys. So that is the 53 that I would like to see. I just kind of put it in a Word document to make it easy to comprehend and everything like that. I would love to hear everybody else's thoughts on it. If you agree with me, disagree with me, anything like that, I want to hear it down below. But, yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.